How's it going, boys? My name is Key. Welcome back to another map guide. Today we're going to be looking at Icebox. It's 2024. The map has changed. Everything's new. So we're going to take a look on how we can approach this map, common angles, common things you want to consider, common player habits. So we're going to start off on attacking side. We're going to go from A to B, and we're going to go defense, B to A. Now there's quite a few changes. So I'm just going to quickly zoom around the map and show you some. There is now a box on top of this. You used to be able to stay on top of this bottom one, but now you can't. There's now a window in this tube area as long as a box here. This entire right side is cut off for the B entrance, and you can no longer get on top of this box here. It was lifted up, basically. But those are the major changes. Let's go ahead and get into this. My name's Key. I played on Icebox and Valorant since beta. I'm an Immortal player, hard stuck Immortal 3 my entire life. And let's go ahead and look over at Belt. Now, Belt actually hasn't changed a lot, but it's really important to approach this space appropriately. So what a lot of players do is they'll start here at the start of the round, and they'll just jump up here to get here quick. And you have two choices, basically. Notice how I instinctively switched to a Vandal, because when you're taking long-range fights like we're about to here, you want to have something that can one-shot on the head, especially. Icebox is a really big Vandal map, unless you're on defense, where you're going to play a bit more closer angles. But when we jump up Belt, we're going to be checking the first angle, which is a 50-50 basically. It's either the bottom sight or top sight here. You can also check for someone on this edge here, but it doesn't really happen. So either bottom or top. You don't really have a right answer here. But I usually gamble on bottom. I think more players play bottom. And then you go here, check this entrance, and then you go right here to this line, because there's still this little box that people can jump up and headshot you from here. So you always want to check this spot. A lot of people think they can get away with this, but you just want to check right next to this line here. Okay, we're just going to continue. You either want to check this spot, and then you actually want to check this spot. There's a little spot on rafters here you want to be careful of. And then you want to check this common angle next. Some players be from here, and then you want to check like top screens. And then it's always good to kind of wrap your cross around here just to clear this corner, make sure this is all good. There's one spot you can spam here that people commonly go, and it's just this wall right here. So if you suspect someone's hiding in this corner, you can spam this wall and light them up. But this will be something we'll cover when we go to the bottom. Your other choice is to drop down here. A lot of players kind of opt in for this actually. Instead of going bottom at all, they just go up here. But let's cover the bottom side now. When you take there's one angle you always want to be careful of, and that's this one right here. But most players miss out on this right here. We'll cover this on defense too, but there's a spot people can jump on top of these pipes right here. Usually want to check this one first, and then you check this side here, the next very common spot. Next up, you want to check this corner here, very common, and then lastly this one here. There is a timing here where players can always go into nest, and the way to clear this is just to hop onto this box and then jump over like this. This reduces the risk of having to go up here and do something like this to kind of like jiggle and peek and potentially take damage. And it's a bit more unexpected while still full clearing it. So this is the first real step to entering. Now you have three choices. You can go up here, you can go up here, or you can go through here. I would recommend these two upper ones. This A site is a lot easier to take if you take a more up angle. Before we continue, let me remind you about the free resources available in our Discord, as well as our shop that includes agent cheat sheets, a comprehensive improvement guide, as well as your own custom warm-up training routine, and a deathmatch analysis. If this interests you, visit slayerkey.com/support. Now back to your regularly scheduled program. Position, if you get to a higher elevation, it's way easier. So I'll start with this one. It's the most simple. You would just go up here and you would kind of check the same common spots you think people would be. So always the first angle we want to check first. Then we check here, we check here. This one you can be a bit more lax on, because usually a belt player clears it. Then you would just like shift onto this rope here so you don't make noise, and then you would like clear that. And there is risk here, 100%, but this allows you to scale up side a bit easier. You want to clear under you like here. There's like one spot where you can't check, which is this corner here. So you just be mindful of that. And then once you kind of check all these close spots, you can go into ropes, full clear that corner, come up here. Okay. And now you kind of have sight. You can do something crazy like jump back here, but that's really risky. But now you have most of sight control. And you can kind of be cheeky up here and see if you can find anyone that's kind of lacking. Okay. And remember, when I do these ankle guards, I always assume we have something up. So I'm assuming like this entire time we have the typical Viper A wall. So when we just look back here backside, we're not really worried about a lot of stuff. Okay, the next spot would just be going under here. This is basically the same as nest. Remember this corner we want to be careful of. We want to clear this. Check this corner angle, really important. And then I would always suggest peeking this corner. I'd suggest peeking a little farther back to help with some angle advantage, you want to check this and this. This corner, just make sure both these angles are checked, both good positions, and then you have a choice left or right. Here we're going to go left. I suggest going left most times, unless you're something like a flash character. Left allows you the ability to wrap around. It's a bit harder for the defenders to hold, since most players are backside here. And if you can kind of scale up like this, remember the Viper wall is up here, we just have to be careful of these close angles. So let me repeat that just so I make myself clear. You check back here, another 50-50, most people are back sight. You can look up nest, and then you can peek back sight. You can check gen here as well. And then you want to check this upper spot. This is very common. And then you would just clear back sight. Usually there's a player back sight here you end up killing, and you want to make sure you clear that corner. And then you have basically all sight control. There's a few rat spots that always exist. Like some players just hide up here the entire time for some reason, and they wait for like someone to go up here. Talk about this when we get to defense. But that's the best we can really do. Last but not least, one of my favorites is just to go up here. You can do this silently if you hold shift. You have to run forward a bit and then press shift and jump. It's a little tricky. You can do this for both of them, and we get up here completely silently. We can full clear this right corner very easily. There's that first angle, then you can check these upper ones. And then you want to check this. I'm skipping a few here, my bad. You want to check this common angle first. And then you want to basically like quick check this and then tuck back. And then clear this, and then you can scale up here. Then you can drop, but I always suggest getting the upper angles, makes everything a lot easier. Maybe you can use something to clear out this corner here, because it would make this push a lot easier. Let's pretend we can't. We would just clear this, go on the ropes like here. And let's try a different pathing here, where we go on top of this, we clear that one corner we were a little careful of before, and then we just jump into nest. Instead of jumping down backside, we could also just shift down this rope, be careful of top, and then you can clear backside as normal. So basically the entry pass you have for Icebox. My favorite's this one. I really like using this upper, especially if you don't have like the good util to back up what you're doing. The left side's always gonna be a lot better. One thing I want to make sure I mention is a lot of players struggle on Icebox because they check angles very uncarefully. So a lot of the reason that we peek this from the mid wall and we don't peek it from the back wall is because if I'm back wall, I'm just exposed to people the whole time. And this goes into pretty much everything. So if I want to enter this right side, I would just be watching backside the entire time, and then I would use this gen as cover so I can peek into screens here, clear this close spot, and this will allow me to scale up further. Notice how I use this piece to basically cover my approach. So you'd wrap, clear this, and you would clear this. There's another rat spot here that does exist where people just hide behind this, which is always fun to experience. So it's another spot you can just spam if you have a feeling like you haven't seen a backside player. You're like, what the heck, where are they? You can spam that box. Okay, now let's go over mid. Mid is pretty similar. Can't do that like we talked about. Remember I think it's the 134 timing of people walking down tube here. That hasn't changed. So 134 is how long it takes for someone to walk down tube. So you're fine at the start of the round to basically just watch under here. Once the clock hits near 134, you would watch here for a sec. Then you can switch back, or you can just peek into mid like this. This start around, you can also just peek into mid like this. Make sure you have your crosshair in a good spot before you peek this. You don't want to be coming around the corner and then lifting it up after. Just place it there before, like this, just like this. And then you can look into here. Then you want to be careful of here just for a sec, and then you can look back here. Now, it's a little straightforward. There's not a lot that's changed here. But if you're going through tube, which most players do, you just want to be careful of this. This is the new angle you want to be careful of, which is all the spaces now opened up. Makes it very scary. Check right side here, and then this is a little up angle they can be on. Then you can check that common angle there. Check deep into halls here. And then one really nice spot to always check, especially now, is down here, making sure this is clear. This allows you to pinch any enemies that are potentially playing here, and then you can go out towards sight, or you can continue pushing and just be careful of these common angles. I think once you get into a position like this, it gets really scary what to check, right? There's so much of sight, so it's really important to use your minimap to know what your teammates are clearing, more than having like a set entry to how to clear it. Make sure you use utility, stuff like that. Because if we're going to check this corner, we're going to expose ourselves to everything else, and there's not much we can do about that. So if I'm going through kitchen here, I'm assuming that there's one kitchen player, and then there's one like B site player. And so when I enter this space, I'm always trying to find that kitchen player or that B site player. So I don't think there's going to be anyone like CT here unless I heard something. I would never really actually look back there in game, but I'd be trying to find this kitchen player. If we haven't found him, I would clear this close area. If we have found him, I wouldn't worry about this space, and I would just try to find the person playing for B main and see where the hell they ended up. And I would just clear the space accordingly. And I wouldn't do it super disciplined unless I have a really strong read of what position they're playing in. But for example, I might just jump down here and see if I can find and quickly clear this space till my teammates get in sight. And if I don't see anything here, I'd be more careful of like these corners. If I don't see anything here, I'd be like, oh, he probably pushed up B main. And then I'd be really careful of these close angles. Hope that makes sense. Hope that's clear. That goes for a lot of how you push the space. So while we're here, I might as well just include that the default for Icebox is basically 1 B main, 1 kitchen, 1 boiler, and then 2A. Sometimes there's 3A. That used to be the meta. But it's always good just to assume there's 1 player in each of these positions. 2 players A. So when you push this site, you're always going to expect 2 players. If you push here and you kill a kitchen player, I don't think there's going to be 2 players kitchen. You basically have the area for free, and it allows you, after killing the kitchen player, to find the B site player quicker. Hope that helps. Okay, if you end up going under tube here, you can watch this. The big angle you want to be careful is up top here. This is where a lot of players will catch you off guard. Clear that corner and then go through site here. If you end up going through mid here, you want to be way more careful of kitchen, for example, if no one's checked it. And when you want to actually peek in the site, I would kind of suggest you go a bit closer and just full peek in the site, make sure there's no one there. I wouldn't suggest trying to peek in a site from here, because a lot of times you're just going to get killed by the kitchen player once they realize you're fighting here, or vice versa if you're here and you're fighting the kitchen player, right? Now I want to cover B. If you're peeking here, I would always suggest jump spotting unless you use some sort of utility like a flash. Fortunately, I'm on Viper, so I don't have that. So actually, I wouldn't even go here. And if I am going here, I'm just jump spotting. But I think it'd be better if I just went towards main, because these are a bit safer angles. I don't have to worry about a lot. And the first spot you would check was on top of this box here, because he can updraft or satchel, whatever they're at the start. And then you don't have to full clear this corner if you peek it at the start. You just have to check this angle here. And then you would take the next angle. And then you would peek into here. And then you would just scale up. You would clear this right side. You would recheck this. And then you would kind of check under the box here. And then you hop on top of the box here. And then check this corner. This corner is like the last rat corner you have to worry about. Then there's like under here, which sometimes happens, especially with like a Viper orb. Sometimes we hide down here because we're little rats and you'll never expect us. But we're going to assume that's not the case. And you basically have 3 areas of worry. And that's this corner spot here, B main, and then top site. So again, we're assuming the same thing. We have the typical smokes, so we can prioritize this spot. So when you push the site, you can either wrap left side or right side. Wrapping right side is actually really nice when you have no utility. So you would just check this top spot, or you would check bottom. It's kind of another 50-50. But I usually see this top, especially when you have the smokes to cover it. And then you would scale up here, right? There's the 1 rat spot clear. Because we have the smokes and whatever here, we could kind of sneakily go around here and then clear back site and potentially pinch this guy. A lot of times this yellow player becomes really difficult to deal with because everyone wants to push him from here for some reason. Okay, so wrapping him is really effective. Even though it's a little risky that someone pushes through that utility, there's usually something they do that gives you a read about it. As long as you don't make it really obvious that I'm just like running back site to swing this guy, no one's really going to have a timing on you. No one's really going to peek this. Okay. If we're going left side, it's very, very similar. Check the first rat spot, and you look back here. It's really good to slice this part because there's a lot of angles you can play on. And you just want to be ready for this fight, especially this yellow play. It's so common to find someone here. And then you would kind of check the same things here. But you're really worried about this player here. You're just checking these, but you're really worried about some rat still hiding there. Okay? And that's basically all of B. Now let's go over defending B. There's a lot of different angles you can play to hold this site. So I'll just reverse Uno card real quick and pretend we're actually on these positions. So an op back here is really good, especially if you're on chamber or someone. Just holding this spot can be good. Just being aware that this timing exists where they could walk past. But if you have something that boosts you up, I'd always suggest boosting up and then holding not this angle, but back here like this and holding this angle. Or if you want to hold that angle, hold more far out like this. Even though it's a bit more risky, it just depends if you want to take that risk in order to try to secure that kill, right? This is very safe, very secure. This is a bit more risky, but it might catch your enemy off guard if you notice he peeked this for free. Okay, At the start of the round, this rat spot is really good, especially if you have a teammate playing off you yellow or somewhere close to kind of bait for you, right? These rat corners on Icebox are really only good if players bait for you. If you're solo here, they're not always going to work as well. So playing off your teammates is really important here. And you want to kind of try to catch someone close here, or you want to play like a cheeky off angle like here sometimes. Like you hear him coming up close and you would play this off angle and then quickly catch him off guard. It's really good for Reyna or someone that can just dismiss out. Your next really good angle is on top here. So this is a nice angle to have. It's a really off angle. A lot of people don't expect it. Or you can just play back here and hold something a little more cheeky like this. You never really want to hold like the very common angles for this because people so commonly are aware of them. There's one nice off angle you have here where you can see that top of the box there. Players on top of this box right here. You can see them peek from there. And if they don't have something that covers this, like the smoke, it's basically a free kill. A lot of people don't expect it. Next spot you're looking at is behind this box here. But what you commonly see is someone playing close here and basically just countering the plant. So something just to block off the plant from getting molly, and then you have something like a retake setup. For example, this Viper wall. So you delay the plant, they allow the team to get close, and then when you eventually get the plant down, everyone's there, and they just completely cancel out this plant. Or if you do plant, they have this wall to basically get a free defuse every time. Or put you in a really bad position where you have to swing out from all this cover to block it. So B is actually really good for defenders to play retake on. There's not a lot of crazy angles you can do here to hold the site. It's mainly top yellow. This spot's really nice. And then being a little rat in this yellow area always serves you well. Besides that, you're playing retake. B is pretty much the same as if you were holding it. If you hold it from here, it's pretty much just you're trying to get to the second area here. This spot's pretty the same. You want to make sure you clear this if there's like a screen or smoke up. Yellow's going to be your big problem for B. So again, really nice spot for util to clear some of this stuff. This will flush all the enemies out into the open here, which is really nice. And really nice to have some smokes. You're basically worried about the same two things, which is these angles here. And then sometimes you're worried about this little under spot here. But it goes basically to wrap yellow, full clear yellow, somehow get into yellow, and then now you basically push them back to this space, and the bomb is really hard to hold from here. So your goal is kind of just to get control of yellow as quick as possible, or use something like that retake wall we talked about. It's gonna be the same thing here. We can get a molly down here. It's gonna be really good. If you don't, you would just same thing, check this angle, do your best to check that. This is your first common angle, and then you'd be worried about this as you kind of scale up, and then you would check in the backside. Same thing, one by one. And then you would make sure you clear this, and then you would clear all of this next area. Sometimes players just jump peek this because they're expecting players so much and they're just trying to find out where they are. That's my general recommendation. You can go a bit more aggressive here and try to get behind them, especially if you have a feeling they're going lineups. This might be a better alternative for you. But yeah, okay, if you're playing more towards mid, you don't really want to take this fight as a defender. It's pretty 50-50. There's not a lot of advantage to it. You can instead maybe hold a little more cheeky like this, or more tight angle where they wouldn't easily check. Or you could do the walk down tube that always works well at the start of the round. And you just try to come up here. And then you could just peek the first angle first and just hold and see if anyone baits. Or try to beat that 134 timing we talked about in attack. When you peek this, always be careful of this elevation here, mainly this spot. And then always be sure to clear this corner here. A lot of players forget the idea that enemies could be pushed up at this point, and so they peek it like this, and then there's two enemies here and they just get killed, even though they have the advantage in the fight initially. Okay, the way we play around that new window now is actually all the way back here. There's a nice angle you can have. There's another angle where you can actually see into mid a bit. You go on top of this box here and spawn, but that's been there since the old Icebox. It's actually pretty nice to when holding mid too, to be playing from this corner here. Still allows you to hold mid, but it's really unexpected and really awkward. So if we go back here and pretend we're peeking into mid, we're actually more scared about the tube angle when we get to this angle. So when I'm peeking here, I'm really nervous about this angle inside tube more than this person being on the edge here, right? Because I'm basically exposing tube at the same time. So it's a really nice spot to kind of catch people off guard. You can play headshot angle. Headshot angle is really good here. Just ADS and go for taps. This is one of the few times you actually want to ADS. As in these super long range fights where you're trying to get headshots. Very similar to here, although I'm kind of spoiling us a little. Where you want to ADS here because you're just going for taps. There's a lot of off angles on A where we'll get to that pretty soon after we cover this. So this is the new really good spot here. is going on top of these boxes here just to hold. This is mainly only if they push through mid already and you know that, because anything else you're kind of throwing. So you would kind of want to hold from here, and then you could check in the tube, and you can actually effectively hold all the mid this way. It's a new different way. Usually you had to only hold from boiler, but now you can watch under tube and this at the same time. So very cool. All right, now let's go into A. A is the angle site. A for angle is a really good way to look at it. There's so many different spots you can play here. So much crazy stuff you can do. General principle about defense on A is a lot of players mess it up because they go under aggressive on A. They don't capitalize on all the aggressive angles they can actually take early on in the round. And this is why in pro matches you saw Jet and Reyna play on these positions a lot, play on this side a lot, because they were super good at going aggressive. So there's a lot you can do. For example, round starts, you can just jump up here and then hop over to here and take an early peek here and beat them with the timing. Or you would just take this angle here, very ready. Another similar thing you can do is go through here, and then you want to shift halfway through. You basically shift as you reach this corner. So let me show you one more time. Go to here, shift as you reach the corner. It's just so the enemies don't hear you once you get close enough. And then you'll be in this spot. This spot's really good for taking these early aggressive angles. It's also a really good rat spot. It's also just good to have this aggressive map control, especially if you have a teammate that's holding your belt, it's really effective. Or if you have a teammate like playing A main baiting for you, both of which are really good. A lot of times you see basically like a belt player and an A main player. This area is called belt, by the way. And this is most commonly held. The belt player usually holds from back here. But they can also hold from back here. Here's the cheeky angle we talked about where you're playing this corner. You see the belt walk out. But that's a bit more passive on belt. You could also play this corner here. This sometimes gets away with a free kill, especially on Reyna or something. Reyna's really strong on this map. One of the few maps I would actually say she's good on. Something cheeky you can do if you're trying to go more aggressive is actually hop in these ropes and then just jump across to here. I found that adding a crouch at the end usually helps me make it here more consistently, but you do you. You can get up here pretty fast. I would go into customs and practices. Sometimes you're going to mess up. So you can peek this belt angle effectively very quickly, and if you do, you have this very nice off angle here that players rarely expect. Okay, so don't be afraid to play this belt. This is also a really good rat spot. Don't be afraid to play this pipes area a lot. Don't be afraid to take early angles, especially if you're a duelist. Don't be afraid to do your setups more aggressively if you're a sentinel. One more spot you can go here, and this is only if you have someone playing for a main, is you hold belt from like all the way up here. This spot is really cheeky and you can really easily get away from it. The next spot, very much similar, but you just go on top of screens here. You do this from doing the rump jump here. Just attach and detach really quick. You get up here really, really easily. This map is super cool. There's so much stuff you can do. You're holding right side once you basically push through this first area. Actually, let me show you the first area first. You can play this corner. Sometimes people forget to play this corner. It's really good. This spot's okay, usually gets checked. You're gonna have better luck playing more off angles here. For example, this upper part is actually a spot that people don't play a lot, even though it's really good. So I can hold the same thing from here and have a bit of a harder angle to hold. Kind of the same thing if I hold from like right here. It's a bit weirder of a spot. They wouldn't really expect me to peek or expect to check when they go through here. Most players look back sight and they'd have to basically look all the way up here to give it a headshot on me. This spot can be really good. A lot of these spots are get out of jail spots though, so you need something like a chamber or Reyna, or you need a teammate to be playing with you. Maybe for example here, or back here or back here, just to basically take contact after you do, or take contact for you, so you can get out of this position more easily. Even just having someone like Viper, you can still do this, because you would just get the kill and then put up this orb and then get away for free. So most agents kind of have something you can use for this. But as those close angles, we talked about this corner is really good. You would actually not tuck fully here. It's better to hold it like this. Even though you're not as tucked, it allows you to take this angle, where if you hold like this, if this player peeks you, you'll be at an angle disadvantage. And I'm almost positive they can see you here. Let's see if we can find out. If I peek from this back, yeah, most likely they can see you. Most of that spray is exposed. So I would recommend just holding a little bit wider. No real downfall to this. This backside angle is really good. A lot of players tend to play backside here more passively. Remember, you can take early aggressive like here, and then more passive like here. You don't always have to take this angle and commit to this angle, because you really play around these angles that you have on site. You have a lot more to play with than you think. Notice how many different spots I can still kind of hold to play the site after taking contact, and they're not super, you know, detrimental if I don't get the kill. We talked about this rat spot. You don't see it used a lot, but it is there and people do get away with it. This spot's okay. I actually really like this spot just for holding this angle here when people come up. It's really good if you're able to get this and get out, because once you get exposed here, you're just going to get spammed through this wall. So you really just want to like run out after basically and just try to get away the best you can. What if you have teammates there, you play it differently? So there's a lot of factors. You can hold screens a bit more passively if you hold like this corner here. A good way to do this is to basically knife the ground. As you can see, I'm basically on the edge, basically on the edge. And right when my knife starts hitting nothing, I'm pretty much as far as I can go. I go a little bit farther, but then I'm definitely gonna fall. So the safest bet is just to find where your knife doesn't hit, and that's good enough. And then you can hold from here and be as least exposed as possible. This spot's really good because you can take this fight here, and you can also take any fights in all this open area if you need to. Only if you need to. So I do want to cover retakes, because I think retakes are really important to know how to do an icebox. So the first spot you always check if you're going from the bottom versus top is this angle here. You just check that, make sure there's no one there. If you peek it from up here, you can see it a bit more clearly. I'm up on these barrels right here. And then you would just peek backside here, check this. There's that rat corner there we can't really clear. And then you want to make sure when you clear this that you full clear this corner, and you're also wary of this top spot. Sometimes play this top spot and it works really well, especially as like an off angle. And then you basically recheck the same things as you come out here. Check some new spots. This angle is really common. This angle is pretty common. And then you would kind of like try to bait to see if anyone's there. Without utility, this really sucks because think of all the angles. There's also top 410 here. You always want to be mindful of. It's a really good spot for players that play on post plant. And then I would never scale this side unless you're forced to, or it's like a 1v1. I would always try to go back side, or if you do go this side, have some utility to kind of benefit it, because there really is so many angles here. You have to check belt here and you check here, but if you get this angle right here, this is really powerful for the team. Usually gets really unexpected timings that the enemies aren't aware of, and then you can scale into backside. And if you can get backside control, it's really nice. Always a problem with this is getting this part of the site controlled. A lot of angles and ratty spots, very hard to clear at once. But if you're going backside, you're basically careful of everything here until you get to this corner. You want to check this, and then you would continue doing the same thing. All these angles, another 50-50 here. We check this corner, right? We check this 50-50, and then you want to check top nest here, and you do the same thing. You want to check pipes, and then you probably want to use something to smoke. You also want to clear this corner. There's just so many angles. So using some sort of utilities can be really beneficial to you, or just being aware that these angles are open. So when you peek into here, you're kind of just putting your crosshair on the next open area. Icebox is actually a really good map to kind of practice your crosshair placement on. Remember that crosshairs usually goes on like the nearest threat. So as I push into a space, I'm always trying to put it where I think like the nearest biggest threat is. So when I clear like majority of the space, I'm not going to worry about the little odds of like this person being back here, because I'm clearing the majority. So if I clear the majority, I'm going to have my crosshair in a good spot consistently. But that's going to do it for this Icebox guide. This map is absolutely beautiful. It's so cool looking, but it is absolute hell to play on. So I hope this video helped you guys. Feel free to recommend other maps you'd like to see or other things you'd like to see in the future. Thanks for watching, and best of luck out there. Been your boy Sayaki. Bye bye.